I'm Brad King, and this is Stories in Steel. On this episode, we sit down with Boise, Idaho's Kenny Welch of Kenny's Rod Shop. From his humble beginnings in his parents' garage to becoming a powerhouse in the hot rod world, Kenny shows no signs of slowing down. We talk about creating art, working with his family, his passion for racing, and how building relationships with his clients is the best thing ever. This one was fun. You've been building cars for a long time. I've seen a lot of your stuff. And you didn't start here. So where did you start?
Do you want to know where I started? Where the beginning was?
Where the beginning? Obviously, you had cars. You're a car guy. You're a gearhead. Yeah, so you've had a few cars in your life. Yeah. I'm not sure how many cars. Well,
Hundreds. Okay. Hundreds. I started out with the VWs. For me, original home was the Bay Area, Fremont. That's where I was born. And then my dad, he was a longtime hot rodder, but in the computer industry. And then when I think I was 13 and a half, I had my BMX bike stolen, and mom and dad's homeowners insurance bought me my first Volkswagen. So that's where it all started at 13 years old. So, and that was actually in Fremont. And then I started building it. And not too long after that, we moved to Turlock, California, the Central Valley. And we're there. And then that's where Kenny's Rod Shop became. And then 20 years ago, we moved to Boise, Idaho. So that's the quick of the moves.
Okay.
So, yep.
How many cars did you do? Well, once you were 13, you built your first one. How long did you keep that before you kind of started to make something?
Well, my very first car, which kind of an interesting story, it was a 1960 VW Bug, and there's a picture of it on the wall up there. So got it done. It's set for probably 4 or 5 months before I got my license, and we just moved to Turlock, and it's set. Of course, when mom and dad weren't home, which they don't know this, I took it out for a joyride quite a bit. Drove it for 1 year. Then that winter, I decided I'm going to cut the top off this thing. So my girlfriend at the time, she was, and my mom and dad were like, "You are an idiot. What are you doing? Your first car, you cut the top off the thing." But, and then from there, it got out of control. I mean,
I can find another one. I can put it in the car.
Exactly. I mean, the Volkswagens were so much fun. I mean, I always knew as growing up, I would get into hot rods. It was just, it was a very difficult transition as a young person to work on old cars, because guys would just be like, "You're a kid. You didn't exist in this time frame." So the Volkswagen thing for me was so fundamental into where I'm at now, because like I said, we were able to buy them cheap, and I cut them up, suicide doors, right-hand drives, chopped tops. I've chopped a lot of them. And if it turned out crappy, we just threw it away, because it was an $80 car, or most people, "Hey, get it out of my yard," So it was a phenomenal turning point for me. And then I got into some mini truck stuff, and 14, 15 years old, my buddies were paying me to suicide doors on trucks and cars and paint them and stuff. And
wow.
That was my, when I get home from school, I was out in the garage at mom and dad's house working on buddies' cars, doing my thing, So through high school, even my senior year, when we lived in Turlock, I think I painted just about every teacher, faculty member's car there in the body shop. So, which was kind of cool. So body paint was kind of my original thing in this industry. And then some health reasons, I can't really do it anymore. So progressed into fabrication stuff. So, but yeah, the Volkswagens is where it all started for me.
So you were fabricating when you were in junior high then? I mean,
yes. Yeah. I'm probably like any other kid. I played with models and built models. I tried drawing, but I ain't no chip foos. So, but it was just, I remember my mom and dad saying, "Hey, go take the motor out of the 49 Ford truck." And I was 5 or 6 years old out there with a wrench trying to loosen the motor mount. So it's just in my DNA. And it's just been a great ride. I mean, next year will be 34 years in business, and it's been fun. I mean, the people we've met and what have you, it's killer. It's killer.
So was your dad your mechanical inspiration?
But I think, yes, a lot of my influence was just my dad being around cars, and was just a car nut as well. So, yeah.
Well, I'm asking because if you're cutting things up, you can only go so far on what you think you know. Somebody had to go, do this and do this so you don't hurt yourself and don't blow up the garage because you got fire going on. So that's kind of what I'm asking is, who was your dad, that guy, or was it
I believe it or not, a Sawzall and me used to get along really well. I mean, I was never afraid to cut things up. And obviously, I mean, I had a really bitchin' Volkswagen and I cut the top off dead of winter, you know. So, yes, my dad was inspirational in that aspect of it. And then he had a really good friend, Lynn Schneider, races Pro Stock Thunderbird back in the day. He taught me a lot of body paint skills. And I can remember a lot of the times, you know, and like any other kid, you know, any young man, old man, you're block sanding, you think it's good enough and it's not. And I remember he popped open that can of white paint and he's looking there, Kenny. He said, "You see any sand scratches? Go back to sanding," you know. So Leonard was part of it. That really, what's that? Is a good longtime family friend, still is a family friend that helped me in the body paint stages of things. But pretty much it was just no fear. I had no problem cutting stuff up, none at all.
Did you go to work for another shop then, or were you always just
pretty much by myself? And then when we moved from the Bay Area to Turlock, I went to work at 2 different body shops. Short period of time, probably 6 months, not very long, still doing my own thing. I worked at a stereo shop, and all this was while I was in high school. And then decided that was it. It's just time to do it. I graduated in 89, and 90, I officially started Kenny's Rod Shop. So
wow, you've jumped right into the fire.
Jumped right into it and off it went. So yeah.
So were you renting a shop, or were you in the garage?
We at my parents' house in Turlock, we had 5 acres, big shop and house. And we had, I don't know, 5,000-6,000 square feet of shop stuff. That was kind of what my dad wanted to build to work on his cars. And then it kind of just turned into my business area. So I kind of took over mom and dad's shop. So it's like dad's 32's in the corner in his Anglia, because he used to have an Anglia. And then there it is, all my Volkswagen stuff. So, and then it's really, really cool. My dad worked with this gentleman by the name of Wayne Wilmoth, and he was my first hot rod customer. So I guess, yeah, my dad had a lot of push and directions and help. Hey, go see my son. And I think when I built Wayne's 34, it was kind of like a ZZ Top looking car, but different colors. But I think I charged him like $15 an hour, you know.
So you went from Volkswagens to an old Ford.
Yep.
That was,
and I knew I was going to progress into hot rods. It was just my maturity and growing up, you know. So, and I still love Volkswagens. I mean, Volkswagens are still my thing. I mean, I love them, but the hot rods, I knew I would always get into that. It was just a matter of figuring out how to break into it as an 18, 19-year-old person. It was difficult, you know, because like I said, a lot of these guys are like, "Kenny, you don't have a clue. You're not a hot rodder. You know, you didn't exist back then." So
but I can be a hot rodder.
Exactly.
I can be one.
So Wayne giving me my first opportunity to build the car. It's a really cool story too, is that I couldn't tell you how old Wayne was, probably in his mid-40s. Wife, family, he wanted to build a really bitchin' kind of a high boy, blown big block. And the wife was like, "No, we need to build a conservative, you know, just had a little small block in it, full fendered, nice hot rod." 25 years later, I got to redo that car for him the way he wanted it. Took the fenders off. We painted candy apple red, flames, big blown, big block. So for me, the history and the things that I've been able to do in the 34 years is just priceless. Totally priceless.
You get to work on that car twice. That's
twice.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. And we got to build him what he wanted. You know, I remember when he called me up and he said, "Kenny, it's time." I'm like, "Time for what?" He says, "Remember what we wanted to build? It's time." So he shipped me the body and we sold everything else, and then we started over and built him what we wanted to build. And it's so cool. I mean, it's just and it's the people, the journey that's got me here that is just, it's so valuable for me.
So what made you leave there and end up in Idaho? That's a crazy jump.
You know, sorry, California guys, but California's California. You know, it was difficult out there where we were at. Town was starting to move in. trying to run a business, a small business, as I am a small business. It was tough. I mean, permits, fees, dealing with paint stuff. It was a really tough gig. So we were actually, my dad and I, we were at West Coast Nationals, which was last weekend, sitting in the building with our 32 on display, talking about it's time to get out of California. And a month and a half later, we're here. So 20 years ago, we decided to move to Idaho. We actually met a gentleman here in town that had a house that builds hot rods with a garage on it. And he says, man, you need to buy this place. And okay, we will. So, and the rest is history. Just got out of California and made the move and haven't looked back since.
That was a big jump, man, kids and all.
It was, because at that point in time, I think we had 23, 24 cars in the shop. I think we brought 9 with us that were substantial builds. A lot of people had a lot of comments to say about like, well, that was quick. You must be running away from IRS. And I'm like, well, the IRS is everywhere. So sure. I'm just that type of guy. Let's go. If we're going to do this, let's do this.
And the customers, it doesn't matter.
No,
just get it done. I'll come pick up, fly in, I'll drive it.
Yeah. For that first year, I drove back and forth a lot to California. So, and then as we became more known and acclimated here, all of a sudden now we have a lot of, Idahoan customers. We've got customers all over the country. Thank goodness. Very blessed with that. But it's been a great move. We were well accepted into the valley here as time went on, and it's good. It's really good.
So what, obviously play with a lot of high end. The car behind you is a pretty high end build. Is that kind of your forte, is doing the high end stuff, or do you like to do the middle of the road street cars? What do you like to play with?
A little bit of everything, to be honest with you. I mean, I think our turnkey high ends is where we focus the most. But my passion for the industry and the people, I mean, we've got a truck in here. He's a local gentleman fireman guy, and he's been working on it forever. And he's just, Kenny, I'm at my wit's end with it. But it's like, get it in here. We'll take care. We'll fix it for you. So, and sometimes my guys got like, Kenny, back up a little bit. What are we doing? We need to stay focused on this. But it's just such a neat industry. I mean, the people we get to deal with and what have you. So we do a little bit of everything. I mean, you can look around here. I mean, there's some refrigerators we've restored for people, Coke machines. I mean, toys. It's just anything that I'm cutting up and modifying, I'm happy. So
what's your craziest project that you go, what did I get myself into?
Well, in 2016, we debuted Dan Wather's 37 Ford, which we went for the Ridler with it. We made the grade 8. And that car, we finished it. I was 44 years old, and I realized, wow, I worked on that car a quarter of my life because we spent 11 years building that car. The build process was just something over the top. I mean, Dan, I have a lot of customers that will fly in and stay at my house for a few days. I mean, they're family. I mean, it's if that's what my customer wants, we have that. Some don't. Some just take, Kenny, I'll write you a check, and it is what it is. That's great. But Dan would fly in once a month, take us all to lunch, dinner, stay out at my house, wherever. And it just, the build part of that, the intensity. I mean, I've never done something like that to the Ridler extreme, was over the top. And people ask me if I do it again. I would, but I'd have to have an interview with my customer first. I want to have that relationship that I have with Dan more than I have with the car.
So did he let you loose, or was it like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, and all of a sudden you're crossing over and it's doing
Well, when it first started, it wasn't supposed to be a Ridler contender. It was kind of like, Kenny, I want to build a really, really nice good guy's car. Okay. And then it was like, okay, we can do this. And then he went back to Detroit. I mean, we've all heard about Ridler. And he went back, checked it out. And it says, Kenny, bucket list. I want to go to Detroit. And I says, well, if we're going to go, it's going to be a different level. I mean, we're not going to show up with a less than car. We're going to try our absolute best to do this, So hence 11 years, which we have 6 full years of build time in it. 08 happened. He owned his own business. The car got put on hold. It sat in my garage for a year or so. But when we made that decision to go, it was all in. And we were worried. I'm not lying. We were worried. We never felt like, man, we're making the 8. It was like, I don't know if we're going to make the 8, And we were very confident in our car, but there was just that many other nice cars there. So, and then we did. We made the 8. We didn't win it, but we were winners. So it was good. It was good.
He got what he wanted. He wanted to compete. He got it at the next level.
Yep. And is what's so cool about him is that you see a lot of Ridler cars. They either get sold, they go into museums, but Dan drives his. It's been back and forth across the country. He trailers it there. Don't mind you there. But when he gets to where he's staying at campgrounds or whatever, he gets out and drives it. For the past 4 or 5 years, it's been everywhere. I mean, we've repainted running boards, front nose, because he's knocked it off and stuff. We've had the motor out once. We had some issues with it. So it's really cool when he goes somewhere, especially a smaller show. And Dan is such a humble guy. He doesn't want an award. He'll pull up it. It's like, oh my gosh, a Ridler car. And he's like, I don't want the award. Give it to somebody else. He said, he loves the story. I mean, you think I'm an animated guy with my hands and stuff. Dan will sit there and talk your ear off and just tell you the story and just the passion behind the build. And like I said, for me, if I was to build another car, I would have to have that with a customer. It would be an interview with you, not the car, because to have that. And I've heard other builders talk about how they've had some troubles with builders and this and that, or the owners, what have you. And it's like, not me, man. It was like, wow, I tell them my story and it's like, holy smokes, I said, man, I consider Dan, maybe an older brother, maybe a younger father. I don't know what you want to call it, but he's family. He's totally family. It was a neat deal. It was very something that is just a memory that I will have forever as far as that goes.
Check out the bucket list because you already did it. Now that's
exactly. Yeah. Yep. It is.
You do it again, you already know what to expect.
Exactly. And if I never did it again, I'm totally fine with it. People, you need to build another one. I'm good. I mean, the experience. I mean, it would be tough to top that experience, and the experience with the people is the people we met there, guys from Australia, this and that, we've become great friends. I mean, they've been here and visited and stuff. So for me, it's like the car was almost secondary.
You got, obviously you said your dad is helping you. Your dad's helping you at the shop because he moved here and he's working with you. Did your kids follow any of what you're doing, or do they care at all?
My oldest son works for me. He's been with me for, I think, 10 years now. And he kind of took over my dad's part. When my dad fully retired the first time, I guess, from the computer industry and came to work for me, he was my wiring guy. And what I've always loved about working with my dad, I always look at things at the extreme and try and make them as killer and showy as you can. And my dad's always got the KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And it was really cool because my dad and I could meet in the middle. Something that was really, really bitchin' looking, but yet very functional from my dad. And my dad and the people that come in here and got to meet my dad over the years, he's still with us and it's great. But he's a wealth of old school knowledge. And I love that with any of these old guys. I mean, we get guys that'll stop in the shop and that are 80 years old, and I'll make everyone stop and, hey, come listen to this guy's story, because when this guy's gone, that's gone. But yeah, so I got to work with my dad, I think 13 years he worked with me. And then my son came in and he kind of mentored my son, and my oldest son's been about...
That's what I was going to ask. So dad showed his grandson. This is how we're going to
exactly.
do it.
And
awesome.
And my kid's been with me for, I think, 10 years. And I've been blessed that both of my older sisters, I have 2 sisters, worked for me. We had a parts division in California as well as here. And both of them got to work for me. So I'm really blessed in that aspect that we've had the family be part of it. So, and my dad still pops in every once in a while. He comes by once a week, my mom and dad, and they'll usually bring the guys some treats or something like that, and hang out, see what's going on, and put his 2 cents in what we're doing wrong, So,
so he's still being dad.
He's still being dad, and my mom is still that way. My mom has always had the best eye in anything. She'd come here and look at a paint job. Oh, what's this? What's the little wobble there? And it's like, Mom, where does that come from? So good. I love it. I love it.
That's a good thing.
It was really neat. Over the years, she was always that way. I mean, she didn't go to the shows and stuff with my dad and I much. It was just always him and I. But she'd walk out of the shop and just, what is this? Where did you see that? How did that come out, Mom? It's like, dang, Mom. So yeah, and that right there for me, same thing. It's just cool. That's just priceless stuff that you just can't. People just don't realize what you can have in a family or a business.
That hot rod shop, just a car building shop. You need to have somebody who's beyond picky, because that's what keeps setting the bar for you.
And she was always the one.
Then you extend. It's like the next one's like, no, it's got to be better than the last one. The last one's good. It's got to be better than that one. So you're always aiming for perfection. And you got Mom coming in. He's like, all right, Mom, get in here. Take it apart. Funny, so Mom is part of it, whether she likes it or not.
Exactly. Yeah, she ain't on the payroll, but she should have been, I guess.
Is she a car person?
Yeah. I mean, she digs it. I mean, obviously, my dad, and it's there. I mean, she comes by. She always tells me how proud she is of me and this and that. And then she did some car shows with us and stuff. I mean, we used to do Hot August nights and stuff. Obviously, my mom and dad would go together. Cherry's Jubilee, we'd always do that together. So, she's into it, but it's not her thing. But she's she respects it and enjoys it. So yeah.
So what are we? What's the end? What's the end goal here? What do you? Okay, so how many guys do you have working here? How many?
I think there's 6 of us now. We've gone from 5 to 11, and we have a 7,500 square foot shop, and sometimes too many guys is too many guys. I mean, we've always got, I think, 12, 13 cars in the works between here or something at the paint shop or upholstery or whatever, which is plenty. And then we do a lot of maintenance on our customers' cars as far as that goes. I mean, but pretty much we focus with the big stuff and then do that. But the guys that work for me are just really great guys, and I've had people come and go over the years and change and what have you, but very, very family oriented. I mean, everybody's got their specialty niche, but at the end of the day, everybody can kind of do everything, but they've got, like I said, their specialty thing. So we work together very, very well. I mean, like I said, a family oriented business is almost more important than somebody that's got massive skills if you can't get along with everybody,
So you want to keep that dynamic. You want to
Yes.
you want to still stay with the old cars. Is there different things you want to try maybe?
I'm old school. I've got a couple younger guys that work for me, and it's like, come on, Kenny, we need to get into this or get into that. I'm just like, I don't know that I can go to that, 80s, 90s cars, which is coming up, I mean, right. I'm only 52, so I got a ways to go, but, and I got no problem doing that. I think as long as we're cutting them up, having fun, chopping tops, shaving door handles or something like that, I'll do that. But I don't see myself as a Honda import kind of a guy. That's just out of my realm, even at my younger age of what we're doing for hot rod stuff. But we've seen a change. I mean, from California to here, we don't do many 32s anymore. I mean, we did so many 32s and 44s and stuff, and now it's 50s, 60s, 70s, which I'm okay with that. It's fun. But I look at my customer base, and they're getting old too. I mean, it's changing, So I think my son's 32. He's got a 35 Ford. It's almost done. And I'm hoping after 40 years of being in business, which is 6 more years for me, that I can turn it over to him. And I think things will change to his dynamics of things. I mean, I think we'll always be doing old hot rods, but I think it'll progress into some newer stuff because it's the younger generation. So, and I got nothing against the younger generation. It's just not my cup of tea. That's all.
Right. Just, but eventually, what we look at as old cars, they're old cars are the 80s.
Hey, I get phone calls all the time. Yeah. Yep.
That's the thing. It's
right.
I want to do an old car. What do you consider an old car? Well, an 80s car.
Yeah, that's not old. That's not old. But I mean, I'm getting now. I mean, when I was in high school and driving bugs and mini trucks were the things. And I have a lot of people that are my age that are reaching out to me. They don't have the budget as some of these old guys do, but can you want to build a mini truck again? And I'm all about it because it's fun. I mean, sure. I used to cut them up and stuff. So I'm seeing in my time frame now that's kind of happening. But 10 years from now, it's hard to say what we'll be working on and what we're doing with all this electric stuff going on and what have you. I mean, I think the hot rod world will always be around, but it's definitely changing. I mean, these flatheads, there's a lot of people that don't know what a flathead is. So
what do you want to? What's the next step? Okay, you did the Ridler car in 16. Is there anything like that you want to build again? Maybe not necessarily a Ridler, but just on that level.
We won America's Most Beautiful Street Rod with that same 37. We've been around the country with that car and numerous cars. I'm going to say I'm probably like anybody else that started this business as a young man, probably in my 30s and 40s. You chase the trophies and the magazines and this and that. At 52, I just want a happy customer. That's what it's all about. I mean, I always wanted happy customers, but for me, a customer comes in, we get a car done like this killer wagon in back of us. I mean, husband and wife just showed up the other day, and she had just the biggest grin on her face, and it just, we're winners. You know what I mean? If it never makes a magazine or it never wins a show, these people are just ecstatic about what we're building for them, and to have the opportunity to build something of this caliber for people, I'm good. If that's as good as it gets from the rest of my career, I'm fine with that.
What's the goal with this car? Where's it going to go?
This car here, we will travel the good guys circuit. That seems to be our big thing for us. We travel all that stuff. We've got this in a Studebaker that we'll have done next year, a 52 Studebaker Commander that have been 2 big projects. And we'll travel back east and stuff with it and just have fun with it. And And then after that, I always encourage my customers, which 99% of them, they drive them after that. We usually show them for a year, pretty hot and heavy. Oh, it's fresh, keep it, good. But after that, on the road they go, and they're driving them.
You going to take it to Pomona?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. We'll have it at Pomona. Matter of fact, we'll be out at the Grand National Truck Show here in a couple of weeks with a truck we built. So that's cool. And I think this one we should have it done for the Slonaker. Win, lose, or draw, it's fine. We always just try and go for a big debut. I'm not going to say we built it for that, because I don't build anymore for the trophy. Right. We build for the customer, and just building the best we can build to our abilities within their budget as well. So, but we always strive to debut something at something substantial. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. Just, hey, it's more of the recognition for the customer to see it and just see all the people ooh and ah about everything and seeing their smiles. Like I said, I'm good for that.
Do they like it, making the tour and going to the different shows? Do they have fun? They like to be part of that?
Yeah. A lot of them, Kenny, we're busy. You handle it, so we'll transport it back and forth, and they'll fly in. Some of them won't, but all of them are all about, Kenny, whatever we can. And it's neat because they'll come to me and whatever we can do that'll benefit you. Because at the end of the day, it's my money. I'm spending the time and the effort to drive around, and they win a trophy. It gets us accolades, but most of the customers, it's really cool. They have that. It's like, well, what can do to benefit you and Kenny's Rod Shop, So that's neat that they have that. So, and most of the time, all of them will drive in or fly in or whatever and hang out for the weekend, which is just great. I'm all about it, and I'll push some of them out of their comfort zone. Hey, you're asking questions or whatever. Hey, you go talk to them. Kenny, I don't know a whole lot about it. You guys build it. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work, Sure. So neat.
Well, somebody wants to hear their passion anyway. It's like you're footing the bill, but you still know what's going on. You've been part of this whole build, so you go talk to them. Exactly.
Yep. And it's fun. We like I said, we've just, I think like anybody else, we chase the trophies in the magazine, but it's not about that. At the end of the day, it's the people, what we get to do. Sure, it's the beautiful car, what it's become, but the stories and what we get to hear from somebody that comes in. Oh my gosh, I had one of these, or Grandma had one of these, and that's just so cool, And I try and instill that in my younger guys here with me. It's like, you guys got to embrace that, because when that history's gone, it's gone, So, very, very blessed, very blessed.
Obviously, the bug fetish never left you. It's still there. Because when I walked in the door, you're working on a little drag car, and there was another piece of fiberglass up on top of the office there. So, what are you doing? What
the Volkswagen thing has never left the blood. So, it's kind of funny. As I grew up, my dad drag raced back in the 60s as well, front engine car and stuff. So I knew I always wanted to do some drag racing. So that's my hobby. That's what I do for fun. So I had a front engine dragster, blown small block in it. I had a Fiat, funny car, a couple different things. And then decided it's time to slow down a little bit, and I was down here. Always have the love for Volkswagens, but I was down here working on a Saturday, and somebody messaged me about an old pink Porsche Speedster that was on the cover of VW Trends back in the day, and it's Kenny, it's for sale. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember watching that car at Baylands Fremont race, and so I ended up getting a hold of the guy, and I bought it. So now I'm literally going from running 7.0s at almost 200 miles an hour to 10 seconds at 135 miles an hour, but I never banged gears. So this is a first for me, banging gears.
So it's fun. It's the 10-second car is still fun.
I've never done it yet. It's not done, so we're building it. So I just decided, I've been blessed to be able to do all the other stuff and ran some really beautiful cars and had some fun, won some races and this and that. But it's like, okay, I want to restore this car back to what it was when I saw it and go have some fun. And we've always had fun racing, but for me, it's like, I really just want to have fun. Same thing. You can go to our pits and it's a big party. We've got family, friends there. The racing is secondary. The people is what it's all about. So, so the Volkswagen thing's still in the blood because obviously I bought a bug for the motor tranny, and then it's going to Texas, and then the Speedster we're going to get down here probably the next couple of weeks and start building a full chromoly tube chassis for it, and it'll be a really killer car. But just go have some fun and just go to some different tracks around the country. Down in Texas, they do a lot of Volkswagen racing. Never been there, so it's like, hey, let's go. Let's get this car done and go check it out for the weekend and have some fun. So something definitely different for me, But like I said, it's still in the blood. So it's feeding my need, the Volkswagen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is there a goal set? You want to go racing next summer? Is that the plan?
I'm hoping we can get it done next year. Just collecting pieces and parts right now. So we'll probably get it on the jig maybe into this month and then start building the chassis, which there's not much to it, obviously. It's a pretty small car. So I hope we can have it done and ready to go next summer for sure. Yep.
We're going to go backwards just a little bit here. How many? So you've built a bunch. How many cars have you built? Customers' cars? Because a lot of stuff I've seen in magazines. Now that I'm looking around, going, I've seen these. I've seen a bunch of these cars. They've been around.
Over the years, we've definitely, probably even starting out, I did more in and out things. We did our fair share of Mustang 2s and air conditioning installs, but probably major high-end turnkey cars for the past 33 years, probably 200 to 300.
Wow.
I would think at least a couple hundred. For sure. I'm just looking at pictures on the walls. Like, I remember that. Oh, yeah, we did that. So, I would say at least a couple hundred for sure. No doubt about that. So
these cars I see, it's like, okay, I've seen these cars. Yeah. That's been a bunch of cars.
And I've been blessed. There's been multiple handfuls that have made magazines and won stuff, and that's great. It's a neat thing. I don't think our goal was ever to necessarily just build that for that, but it's just what it turned out to be, and we're really blessed, and I can say 90% of our customers have always given us free rein. Kenny, you guys know what looks good. I love the input with my customers. I try and get them to come in to set in the car for steering, seating, shifters, but there's some that, Kenny, we want to paint it this color or blue. I'm like, I really don't think that's going to look good. Your car, we can do what you want, but maybe we ought to look at this. I'm never going to be the final say, but it's like, I'll coach you the right direction, just so you don't go the wrong direction.
This is why I don't like this. Let me tell you
exactly.
why.
Yes.
I don't like blue. I love all the colors. Yep. This is why I don't think.
Especially on this car, this would look better than that, But it's nice that people, they trust us. They have that trust in me that it's like, Kenny, you and your crew, I know you're going to provide us something that's just killer over the top. And I think as the years gone by, what we strive to do is take a car and just accentuate whoever the manufacturer was built it. Whatever Henry built, like the 37, we moved fenders around, we moved headlights around. We didn't tweak it to the degree it looks totally different. Right. We just enhanced what we think Henry already did. But then we've always been known to have a really killer engine bay. That's where we focus. When you open the motor, it's like, wow. It may not be crazy polished chrome stuff, but the satin blacks and just like the Hudson Wasp we built with a Viper V10 in it. The engine bay, nice. It's a shiny black car, but the engine bay is satin black, and we used a ceramic coating, kind of a bronze color. And it's just, I see so many pictures of it everywhere because the people are just like, that is just clean and different. Now, I'm not saying that we're the pioneers of it, but it's just, that's kind of, I think, where we always strive. If you look at some of the pictures on the wall, you can tell that's a 67 Mustang, but believe it or not, we've moved fender wells, moved doors, hood, roof line. 99% of people never know that, but we did. And we just think it makes it look better. Sure. So that's what we've always strived to do, kind of like the wagon in back of us. There's a lot of subtle changes, but most people would not recognize the changes. And I like that. When somebody's got to ask, hey, there's something different here. What'd you do? Aha, we scored. That means we did our job. And there's so many shops out there that do that strive for that same achievement. And
I love that.
And it's cool. It is. It's just neat.
It's like this. You're having fun with this. You start moving things and you go, okay. Do we do it, and you're only doing it a half an inch, but you got 3 weeks into just moving something a half an inch. But that's what it needed. It needed that half an inch.
Yep, it does. And like I said, I think it was always just to enhance what, Pontiac's already done. We just made it a little better at like today's standards, but yet, it's a 57 Pontiac Safari wagon, right. And that's what I've always liked. And Dan's 37 is the perfect example. I remember talking to one of the judges there, and we did something with the windows, and they had no clue, and it was like, oh man, we did good. We did good. You've been doing this for 40 years, and we stumped you. It's awesome. That's cool. So that's something I think we've just always strived to do, is the subtlety. But everything we do, which granted, we're human, we make mistakes, parts fail, but we build everything to drive to. It doesn't matter if it's a low dollar car, big dollar car, they're built to be driven. Now, whether the customer drives it or not, but most of them do, and that's what it's all about. I mean, our Hudson pickup we just finished had like 1,100 miles on it. It's a big dollar build, and he jumped in it and drove back to Des Moines, Colorado, all over the place, everywhere.
Wow.
I mean, it's our Hudson. Matter of fact, the coupe that way. I think we had 300 or 400 miles on it. We jumped in it and drove to Colorado. Got a big old rock in the windshield and blew the windshield apart. And we pulled in the show, and Patrick that worked for me at the time, him and I both signed it. Took a picture, and the owner of the car, he wasn't there, and he was just, oh man, we're not gonna, it's gonna hurt us, and people just thought it was the coolest thing to see that
it's a driver.
We bounced the rock off of the hood and boom, shattered the windshield. I mean, by the time we got there, I was on the phone with my guys, and we got another windshield coming for it, but it was just it happens. You drive them, and that's what it's all about. I mean, all these guys, they just cringe when they get that first rock chip. But then after that, it seems
you
like...
almost want to go in the parking lot and go throw a rock right there.
Almost, because it seems like once that happens, they're gone. Yeah. Okay, it's done. It's happened, Kenny. We're going to drive the snot out of them. And we'll see them once a year for oil changes and this and that and things that break and whatever. But to see them on the road, go down the road, and something we build, because we do a lot of our own chassis work and everything as well. So to see something created from nothing to go there is just killer. I mean, one of my guys that works for me, Adam, he's always telling me, he says, Ken, you got to realize everything we do is a prototype. And
good way to look at it.
Yeah, when he told me that, I was like, wow. I said, that you're right, because it is. I mean, there's no manual to this stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, it just, and today's quality of parts, good, bad, and different. I mean, it's things fail, but it's interesting when he said that to me. He's like, everything's a prototype. Don't matter what we do, and things fail, and we're human, and we have things fail, and we just take care of it. It's what we do. So, but we do a lot of R&D and research and stuff. People look at a lot of the chassis stuff that I built way back in the day, and you must be an engineer. Nope. I just got my crayon and my pencils and my cardboard, So, like, nope, thanks, but no, I can't take credit for that. So, just a hot rod builder. So, but yeah, it's great, good times.
That's awesome. I love going to a show and you walk up and you can see $1 zillion car. You guys got $1 million and the front end's all chipped up.
Yep.
Guy's my guy right there.
Yep.
He's driving the crap out of it. He knows he can fix it.
And that's exactly it. That's what I tell people. I say, that's what you pay insurance for. And I said, that's why we got painters, because we painted it once, we can paint it again. So,
don't leave it in the garage.
Yep. Nope.
So hopefully this car here gets driven. After you guys do the little tour. And
they will. I think the Homer and his wife, they'll drive it all over the place and have fun with it. And like I said, that's what we strive to do when we build exhaust, brake lines, body clearances. I mean, we're looking at, okay, what can we build that's showy but functional? It's got to function, and I'm going to give up showy for function because I want it to be able to be drivable. So
makes sense.
It's just how it's got to be. Whether they want to drive it or not, it's their prerogative, but most of them do, and that's what it's all about. I mean, we have a T-shirt made that built to be driven. That's our motto, built to be driven.
That's a good attitude. That's good though. You make all the clearances. You give everybody room to drive it.
Yep.
Is it going to be too low? Of course it's too low. Is it going to hit? Probably.
Yep, it will.
Even better.
It will. But at least the oil pan's a little higher than the frame, so we'll hit the frame first before we go knocking the drain plug.
Go drive it. Drive the car.
Yep. No, we've got a few guys that have taken the front of their bumpers and ground them off nice and clean, and it's like, well, you want to raise it up? Nah, Kenny, it looks too cool that way. Okay, we'll go a little slower coming into the driveway, but just drive it. So, and they do. So, that's always been something from day one that I've just strived to do. It's like,
I love that.
We got to drive it. We got to drive it. I mean, I just sold my 55 Chevy two-door post car, and the guy that bought it asked me if I drive it all the time, and I sent him pictures out here in the snow doing donuts, and it's packed up around the license plate and the bumper and stuff. I'm like, I drive it every day. I said, do you realize in 1955 when this car came out, it snowed? And he kind of laughed and he says, never thought of it that way. I says, well, it was a brand new car in 55 and it still snowed. So how come it can't snow on it now? So we just had a customer, we finished a 56 delivery, and he called me the day and he says, hey, they're wanting to do some work in my garage and it's raining. Can I put the car outside? I'm like, it's not going to shrink. Go for it, So it rained in 1956 as well. And he kind of chuckled and, he drove by it the next day and he said, Kenny, thanks for telling me. I got a good laugh out of that. He says, not worried about it now. It can sit outside in the rain. I'm like, that's what they make cleaners for and detail guys. So yeah, it's neat. It's really neat to what I've seen and how some of these guys have just changed their attitude and mindset as they've gotten older. It's like, we're going to go drive it. Let's go.
And that's good that you pushing your customers. A lot of guys that, they're scared to death. I don't want to take it out. Somebody's going to lean on it or touch it or get a fingerprint. It's like, it's a car.
It's a car. I mean, at the end of
you don't want to lean on it. It's like, don't lean against the thing. It's still a cool car. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. But go out and drive it. Go to a cruise night. Go take us somewhere. Go.
It's rolling artwork. Show it off.
Road trips are always fun anyway.
Oh, they're a blast. They're a blast. We've had some good road trips over the years, and we just have a great time with them. So, and it seems like it's more of the journey to get to the car show than the car show itself. When a bunch of us went to Good Guys, Colorado, we had a breakdown. My dad's 32 of all cars, and it broke down, and half of us went to a couple different hot rod shops there in the Colorado area. I mean, and the people we've met, and now they're good friends. I mean, I couldn't tell you, no offense, what we did at the show, but it was like, man, we had a damn good time going around fixing my dad's car and meeting people and finding parts and stuff like that. So, it was, good times. Sometimes they fight back too, but that's cars.
That's great though. That's cars.
It is.
I love cars.
It is.
Going their pain. I love cars. That's just.
It seems to be a common bond that can bring anybody together. I mean, my 55, before I sold it, same thing. We went to a Mexican food restaurant after church on some Sunday, and I come out and there's a note on there and it says, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. My wife and I dated in a car looked just like this. If you decide you want to sell it, yada, yada. So I call the guy up, and he lives here in town. And I said, no, I don't want to sell it at this point in time. But I said, if you ever want to come get it, come get the keys and take your wife to ice cream or something like that. This guy was just floored. I mean, I don't know him. We've never met, but it's like, that's just the car people. It's like, if this guy spent the time in the rain, no less, to write the note, put it on my windshield. It's like, if you want to come get this, come grab the keys and go. And he just thought that was the coolest thing. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm not, doesn't make me any more special than anybody else, but it's the bond of the cars, what it does. You can seem to pull into anywhere, the grocery store, laundromat, whatever, and there's just a story to be told or something to be said that will bring somebody together. Even if it's just a thumbs up going down the road, cars are just cool. They're just flipping cool.
They're just cool.
Yep. Well, it's really cool. We're doing this 66 C10 for a gentleman back in Georgia, and I sent him his last invoice, and it says second set of back tires, and he's like, well, what is this for? Because I said, I'm going to annihilate the first set. We're going to go out and have some fun. So it's got a 1,300 horsepower LS motor in it. I mean, so he just chuckled. He's like, God, good thinking, Kenny. You're thinking ahead.
You're going to need 2 sets of tires.
Says, we're gonna destroy the first set, just so you know. So he's just like, I love it. He said, let me know I'm flying out, and we're going to go for a rip together. So
tires.
Yep, that's it. So and it's neat that we do have that with our customers. I mean, we have some of the most straight-laced people, but most of these people are just so humorous, and they just have fun. Most everybody owns their own business. I mean, and they get it. They can respect our time, and they'll come in here. And I'm the type of guy that when a customer comes in, I try and put each one of my guys on a project. We all work together, but there's a lead for each one. And I'll send my customer right over to talk to Adam or my son or Justin, because I want them to hear right from the horse's mouth what's going on. I know what's going on 100%, and it's amazing the interaction, both my employee and my customer, how much they like it, because it feels so much more in depth, their build and stuff like that. But then I can walk over 30 minutes later and like, I'm charging you for consultation time now. Oh, sorry, Kenny, we got to go, So it's neat how we can play with that, and most people get it and can respect it and have fun. But like I said, just the one-on-one with our clients is just, for me, it's just how it's just changed my future look of this industry, and just how much fun and how much I enjoy that. Even like what we're doing right now, talking cars and BS, and it's cool. I mean, you can see my passion, my hands flopping around, going everywhere. I mean, it's what it is, man. It's so much fun, and I've been blessed that I can make a good living, and I've got to work with family and friends and the people I've met around the world and stuff. It's just, I wouldn't change it for anything,
dude. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, thank you,
Great
man.
Story.
Like I said, I get going. It's easy to go.
No,
so
it's okay.
Yeah, thank you.